Good afternoon, ma'am. This is my video presentation for globalization theories. Homogeneity, which refers to the increasing sameness in the world as cultural inputs, economic factors, and political orientations of societies expand to creation common practices. Some economies are and similar forms of government. Heterogeneity pertains to creation of various cultural practices, new economies, and political groups because of the interaction of interaction of elements from different societies in the world. Recent changes comprise with fifth view. These broad changes happened in the last half of the 20th century. Scholar to these three notable changes as the origin of globalizations we know today. Number one. Number one. The emergence of the United States as the global power. Post World War II. The US is not only projected its military power throughout the world. Korea in the early 1950s. Truly in Vietnam in the 1960s and early 70s. It extended its reach in the economic realm as it became the dominant industrial power when World War II. Estimated most of its competitors military, German, Japan, and or economically, the excess power as well as allies such as France and Great Britain. Many other aspects of America global search either accompanied these changes or soon followed. Among them were the only diplomatic clout of the U.S. government, the age of the U.S. media, the power of Hollywood, and so on. Such a view closely allies and globalization with the idea of America. The story of globalization, however, was not over. The end of the World War II marked a new beginning for the global economy. Under the leadership of a new and United States of the America, and aided by technologies of the Second Industrial Revolution like the car and the plane, global trade started to rise once again. At first, this happened in two separate tracks, as the Iron Curtain divided the world into two spheres of influence. But as of 1989, when the Iron Curtain fell, globalization became a truly global phenomenon. Number 2. The emergence of multinational corporations. While the world's great corporations can be traced back to the 18th and early 19th centuries, and for example, Germany, Great Britain, and United States, they were initially largely associated with their nations of origin and did the vast majority of their business within those centuries. However, over time, those corporations did more and more business internationally, and In so doing, they were following Marx and Engels' dictum that because of stagnant, stagnant or declining profits, capitalism had to expand into international markets or die. For example, the once great America automobile companies, Ford and General Motors, not only originated in the US but focused at least initially on selling into the American market, and most, if not all, the components parts were produced by them or subtractors in the US. Of course, they did important raw materials of various kinds, and they did sell their automobiles overseas, especially in Europe. But in the main, the bulk of their business was done in the US. Furthermore, the vast majority of top exclusive employees and investors was America. However, that began to changes over the course of the 20th century as their corporations exported more of their automobiles to other parts of the world, opened factories in the other countries to sell cars under their brand names or others, target their product to the distinctive needs of those countries, and more recently began to move more of their automobile production aimed at the US market to the other countries. Other, uh, other either in factories of their own or the factories of subcontractors in those countries in these countries. In their in this and other ways, Ford and General Motors have become multinational corporation, and MNCs are because of their very nature inherently part of globalization. Indeed, MNCs are not only involved in globalization but process and internalize into the organization as all sorts of global flows occur within the corporation. A power influence on patterns of the world trade and factors movement. The multinational firm. A multinational firm corporation is a company with headquarters in one country or but they will operate in many countries. Number 3, the demise of Soviet Union. The demise of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. The global processes that had spread throughout most of the free world before 1991 flooded into now independent states of the old Soviet Union, especially Russia, and most of its allies, states and communists exist as that as of this writing, especially in Cuba, North Korea, and at least normally in China. Cuba remains in the main outside of global capitalism large because of the US embargo against trading with Cuba. In force since 1962, and expanded and codified several times